Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all awake and up in the day and doing whatever it is you do on a snowy Saturday. We have a winter storm watch warning here, so we're definitely in some lousy weather. So I'm just home, and so that's what we're going to do today. I just want to talk to you a little bit first about muscle memory and why, muscle memory is so important and why that means practicing is so important. And hopefully I'll have a voice to continue what I'm trying to say. Muscle memory is basically learning. Muscle memory kicks in when you practice a movement over and over. It becomes secondhand. So you do like some of the lines I've shown, or some of the exercises I have in some of my videos. It basically becomes repetitive movement. So whatever stroke, whatever line, whatever technique you're using, you develop it over time after repetition, like tying your shoes. You've learned to tie your shoes after a while. Your mind and memory just remembers. You don't have to watch it. You don't have to read it how to do it again or anything. You've just done it so many times that your mind just remembers how to do it. That's what muscle memory is. Why it's important is because in painting, especially in painting, you don't want to have to think, now, how did I do that leaf now? How did I make that stem? What was that technique I used to make the tree, paint the tree? If you practice a lot of different techniques, the lines and the strokes and all that, and you practice regularly, then all that will just happen. After a while, you won't be thinking, like for me, for instance, one of the things that I had a really super hard time with at the beginning was learning to keep my white areas open when I paint, instead of going back in with white paint, which you can do. There's no problem to do that at all. We can do that. I mean, they shunned it about it earlier, years, but no, there's all kinds of white paints you can purchase now, and I do it all the time. I also leave the white spaces, and I leave the white spaces now because I've trained my brain to remember that as I'm painting, I need to remember to leave the white space. I'm already thinking ahead of what I want it to look like and where I want the white space to be, so that before I get to that place on the paper, I'm going to already know that's where I want a white space. But that literally took me months to get to. So don't beat yourself up with learning the different things of watercolor. It takes a while. It's not a real easy. It's a beautiful medium to use, but it's not easy. It just takes time and patience. You want to focus on specific techniques when you're in drawing. When you learn lots of different techniques. When you paint a photograph from a photograph, not just your mind, which that's another thing. You paint from your mind when you get to where you have come to that place where you have taught yourself so many different things, and your mind now remembers all those things. And now you take a photo and you reference photo and you start painting it. I don't have to look up, how did I make the grass? How did I do that stone? What's the idea of this and that? You don't have to, because your memory and your mind, your hands, your mind and your memory have learned it. Now all you do is paint it from your memory, from what you've learned in your memory when you're using a photograph. Another whole thing is to do it often. I still practice because the practice continues to help me to paint better. You'll become a better painter. And you won't struggle so much. You won't have so much stress. It'll all just come out of your memory, Some other things are like getting stuck in different ideas and ways that have been said along the way. Like, for instance, the white, it was that you couldn't use white, and then since then they've come up with Chinese white, gouache white, there's acrylic white. I mean, and I'm sure there's other whites now. So, I mean, you don't have to be stuck in that mindset of, oh my God, I can't use white. I've ruined my whole painting if I didn't remember to leave the white spots. No, don't stress about that. Keep teaching yourself how to learn to remember to leave the white spots. But in the meantime, if you do, have a little bit of white paint somewhere where you can go back in after and put it in. That will also remind you and help you to remember. Um, and that's the whole idea in unlearning things that are sort of not really the way you do it. Like for watercolor, that's part of the watercolor thing. So it's not imperative or anything. You want to learn it, learn it. If you don't care about learning it, use the white paint. It's that simple. You're the painter. You're going to do it just exactly the way you do it. You're the creator. You're creating something. So you can do it in many, many different ways. I mean, there's famous painters that have just done their own thing completely, right? So, also other things would be, like I said, don't, rush yourself into learning. You want to learn the skills that are out there and the techniques and the strokes and the whole thing of water and paint. What does it mean wet on wet? What does it mean wet on dry? What does it mean dry on dry? So, I mean, there's all these different things that you take time, give yourself the time. And when you start out painting, paint something little, small. Don't try to start a whole painting from the beginning. You can if you want, but you'll probably get frustrated that way. So you just start out with small things. Um, and when you do paint, as you get going and as you get better at it, you will want to paint, with intention. You'll want like when I paint the Easter or bunny tutorials that I did, I wanted to demonstrate some specific techniques, yeah, if I can talk, specific things on that page in that painting with watercolor. So that I did it with intent. So that's one thing. Another thing is take breaks. You sit down, at first you're just going to get frustrated. There's no way around it. You're going to end up with a little frustration in there. And the way to alleviate a lot of that frustration is take breaks. Definitely take breaks. Definitely don't come at it thinking that you're already a watercolor painter, because we all start from step one. We all start from the beginning, and you have to teach yourself the steps. You have to teach yourself the techniques, and that all takes time. It all takes patience. It takes courage. I mean, I did acrylic painting for over 40 years, and I always told I wanted to watercolor paint. I really did. But I just kept thinking I can't, it's too confusing. I don't really understand it. It's too much. Why I would think that when I did acrylic painting, I sold paintings, I gave them away and everything. I mean, I did a good job. I still do acrylic painting sometimes. But if you have the desire to do something, then go for it and take the steps it needs at the beginning to make that happen for yourself. Instead of making it harder on yourself, make it easier on yourself, and do these things, these steps that help us to learn the technique of watercolor with ease and with patience, because it's a very stress-less type of medium once you've learned it and once you really start actually painting with it, and you're not having to stress yourself out about, oh, I didn't remember the white space, or I can't remember how, that stroke went. Just do your practices and that will all come after a while. Other things are different techniques. Try different techniques. Use different tools. I mean, here's my cup of, and I, and I have more. It's just, and there's all kinds of things. I mean, this is a paintbrush, but I can use the end of this paintbrush to do some doodling, painting, tree branches, sticks, grass. So, a palette knife, there's tissue. The list goes on and on. So as you get going and you get more familiar with the paints, with the water, with the brushes, with the paper, because it all works together. The more you get familiar with that, um, the more and fun it will become to try, other things such as what I just mentioned and a whole lot of others. So I just wanted to kind of come on and talk a little bit with you on that. And then right after this, what I'm going to do is demonstrate some of those techniques that I talk about right now that just simply help us. It takes patience, but if you're willing to use your patience and realize that you have to be patient with yourself, like learning anything else, then you'll be fine and you'll do just fine. And you'll be painting in watercolor, and I'll probably see you on YouTube. So anyway, have a great, wonderful rest of your day, folks. Check out my tutorials because they're very helpful. They're short, but it's intended to be short, fairly short. Some are shorter than others, some are longer than others. Depends on what I'm painting. But the whole idea is to help you, encourage you, and get you painting in watercolor. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.